We move on to CD1. What's the ballot count right now? Some of these are not the final numbers. How many more ballots need to be counted?
That's a really good question. I have some of my sources out there trying to get me that number. But according to the Secretary of State's website tracking the election and all the results, 835,000 ballots have been cast to date. I would guesstimate there are about 1 million ballots total, maybe 1.1. This was a low turnout election.
So not that far to go.
Okay. So apparently not that far to go. The count was very effective. And here I want to say a good word about a change that was made in the way we count ballots. If you pay attention to our coverage every 2 years, you always hear about late early ballots that are turned in on the day of the election. This year, thanks to a new law, there's a way to count those faster. And reports back from polling places indicate it was very popular. Yeah. So that might be having an effect as well.
Okay. All right. The race for one of the race that's been called right now, Republican candidates in the CD1 race, former Arizona Cardinals football player Jay Feely with a large lead as those initial numbers started to come in.
And he's now been declared the presumptive winner. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly just spoke with him a little while ago. He's live outside Feely's watch party with what he had to say. Chase, we heard him live. He seems like a guy who is relieved and excited about what lies ahead in the race for November.
Mark, that's right. And he told me that's one of the reasons why he decided to run in this election is because he says a lot's at stake for this seat. It's a swing seat. It could potentially lead to whoever controls the U.S. House of Representatives, whichever party will be able to control that come November. So a lot riding on the seat. And as we talked about Feely, I mean, this is someone who's never held a public office before. As you mentioned, he's a former NFL player, then went to broadcasting for a local network, calling football games, and then eventually deciding to run. And he thinks that's part of the reason why he got so many of the votes. He believes that authenticity plays a very big role in this. He said he's not running for personal gain, for political gain, or money. He really, truly just wants to serve his constituents, and he really thinks that's what put him over the edge here. But you can't help but mention that he is the only GOP candidate that was endorsed by President Donald Trump, and we know how important that endorsement is for races just like this. He says he's been friends with the president for more than 20 years and supports a lot of the policies the Trump administration has implemented when it comes to securing the border, when it comes to election integrity and the economy. But with that being said, we also know that there's a lot of independence within CD1. So we asked Feely earlier tonight as if there's ever a situation where he has to publicly disagree with the president or go against some of his policies. We asked him what he would do, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your job is to stand up for what you believe is going to be best for your district. And, I'm not somebody who, is a partisan guy who, I look at the vitriol that exists and I look at, the way that this country, unfortunately, if you're on one side or the other, you're supposed to hate that other side. I don't believe that. I think you can communicate with people that you totally disagree with, do it in a respectful manner, and still stand up for the things that you truly believe in.
Now, with that being said, he also had a lot of comments regarding the Democratic Party, so we'll have to see how his views on still being able to have conversations with those he doesn't disagree, for those he disagrees with, coming up into the future. But he said he will be hitting the ground running here shortly. We're live in Scottsdale. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
Chase, is that Feely mobile behind you? Is that a Cybertruck?
That is a Cybertruck right there. Yes, you can see it's been parked out right here. It's been here all day. And whenever he's been going to campaigns or everything like that, you can always see the Jay Feely Cybertruck pulling up.
Nice.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
probably the coolest campaign truck so far. All right.
Bram, it looks like Jay Feely will be facing off against Amish Shah. And this was a little bit surprising because the Democrats, some high-ranking Democrats, had really put their chips behind Marlene Galan Woods.
Yeah, and this has become a national story in other races. The National Democrats putting their thumb on the scale for their chosen candidate, putting money into that campaign while the grassroots say, hang on, let us decide. It's our primary, stay out of it and wait till the general election, then put the money in. Well, this is one of those cases where the National Democrats decided Marlene Galan Woods is the candidate we want, the candidate we think can win this election in November. And as things are going right now, the National Democrats, specifically the House Campaign Committee, is wrong. And they put hundreds of thousands of dollars behind Merlene Glanwood. She finished a close third in this primary 2 years ago. Amish Shah won it 2 years ago. It now appears that Amish Shah is going to win it again, and the National Democrats have egg on their face.
Wow, okay, all right. We have some sound from Amish Shah. Let's go to that.
I want to make clear, not all the votes have been counted here. And we are going to wait until every vote is counted. And I just want to do that because the voters have to have their say. That's what this is about. And I'm really confident and optimistic with where we are. However, we are going to wait until every vote is counted. Because ultimately, for me, this whole thing has been about centering the voters.
All right, so Amish Shah being cautiously optimistic. Nothing has been called yet in this race, although he does have a very, very comfortable lead.
Yeah, and we learned of a connection that Amish Shah and Jay Feely have. Jay Feely was a former NFL kicker, played for the New York Jets. Amish Shah was a team physician with the Jets, and they came across each other then, had interactions when
So
Amish Shah was
how
coming to the
many
team.
years ago would that have been?
Let's see.
Like 20 years?
10 years ago?
Oh, 10,
maybe
10-ish.
more,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I think he played for the Jets around 2013,
Something
I think.
like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, interesting random
Life-
connection.
Yeah, life moves in strange ways.
I did find it interesting when Jay Feely said, and I think he's sincere about this, that he's not a partisan guy. He doesn't like the vitriol. And now, because of his comment here, people are going to call him on that if we see something different.
And Donald Trump might call him on that too, because we've seen how the House works these days.
Yeah. As the Borg once said, resistance is futile. All right.